right. I mean,
everything's fine, guys. I'm
it's
just gonna
fine.
start.
It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Crack it.
Ooh,
In our little BS thing, which you can still buy, by the way.
that's
Can
a
you?
good one, though.
They're not
Oh,
gone
yeah,
yet?
I still got a whole box of them.
The BS koozie can holder thing, warmer.
Can koozie.
Koozie
I got my little
can.
can in
I hope they're
there.
not can warmers. That's not. You don't want that.
Well,
Keep your
drinking
beer
hot soda
toasty.
right now.
yeah, it's a hot toddy holder.
Just like your mom used to make warm soda.
Mm.
BS brings you warm refreshment. That doesn't sound good.
It's Monday at 9 o'clock ish Eastern.
Every time.
By the way, I'd like to fire a shot at Boiler Express. You
want to fire another? We're doing more firing this week?
I'm going to fire across the bow. I saw them put a thing on their Twitter saying their show would be on Tuesday at 9-ish. I was like, no.
Don't be that.
We
That
are
is a
the only
trademark.
ones that are allowed
That
to
is
be
exactly. You be punctual,
tardy.
young men.
Yeah, that's your brand.
Yeah,
I did
don't
see a
sacrifice
few
it.
of them during I saw a whole bunch of people. Again, when I go to these games, it's
It is
tremendous.
not to see good
It's
football. I understand.
Yeah, I mean the product we're not doing, but like it's
The
always
first
fun.
person who's in here, I saw him at AJ's.
See, like we got our friends
neat.
everywhere. What
Adam.
do we need the actual product for? It's
Yeah.
fine. We're just hanging out, man.
I guess. It's the Handsome Hour. It's Monday. It's Boiler Dad. It's Anish and Jay, all here to talk about just
basketball
another
season.
week. Just another week. Nothing strange going on. It's Wisconsin week. Probably another win on the ledger.
Sure.
It would be hilarious if this was the year,
Oh,
right?
Well, whenever it's going to happen one time, and it's going to be something stupid. It's not going to ever happen like the way
Like a good Purdue
that problem
team
was
beats a
0
bad
and 5
Wisconsin
against
team.
Wisconsin. Okay,
Right.
and I know we could get to this later, but who cares? I'm going to say it now. Do you guys? I know we do this every year. Can you guys tell me the year that Purdue last beat Wisconsin?
It's 2002, right? 2 or 3?
Yes, you are correct. 3.
Yeah,
you get
3.
You take 2 guesses.
Good
You're going to be
job.
more likely.
Nice
There you
work.
go. 2003,
Okay,
yeah.
but-
Because then I was thinking the fumble, and then you
The last
push
2,
back. Yeah.
the last 2 wins. This is another fun weirdness. The last 2 wins have been in Madison. The last time
That's
they
again-
won in West Lafayette was in 1997. So if they don't do it next year, they'll be 30 years. And I used to think you'd hear, well, Dad's enjoying a cookie.
A snack.
Get those at AJ's too.
I was going to say it was either a cookie or an empanada.
Oh,
I
it
couldn't
is.
tell from this angle. He was just eating a beef-filled empanada.
Or an M&M filled cookie. It's hard to tell. I used to think it was weird when you'd hear like some SEC patsy beat someone like a powerhouse and they'd say, first win since 1983. And you're like, oh my gosh, how's that possible? Well,
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. I'm telling you, it's going to be this year. It's going to happen this year because it is the most hilarious, way that this.
maybe
could
we should,
possibly go.
a lot of people probably come here for their Purdue football news. So maybe we should, exactly. The cable from West Lafayette. So over the weekend, Purdue lost to Nebraska. I don't know if you guys saw that. 28-10. It was 0-0 into the second half, which was the first time they said since 93 that's happened in Ross-Ade, 0-0 into the second half. And that 93 team was so bad. I don't understand how it's possible that there was a 0-0 game then. But and then Ryan Walters decided to fire Graham Harrel. He listens to the show. He clearly
Obviously.
listens to Boiler Dad, listens to our insider chats, and he elected to fire Graham Harrel. And then today, I watched that press conference. I know you did, Boiler Dad.
I watched it as well. Yeah, all of us watched it.
And he did say, how true do you think it is that a lot of prominent people, bye-bye, and that's all for Boiler Dad.
He's out.
Good night.
Boiler Dad is done. He hates this.
Similar to Graham Harrel, Boiler Dad has been fired. We're not getting enough out of him.
Nope.
I'm afraid we
needed
more
to say it
ingenuity.
was an expensive decision, but we decided to
Needs
let
to
him
be a
go.
little faster paced show. Oh,
well,
you're back.
we're gonna give him a little bit of a second try. We're gonna figure it out.
What's happening over there? Can you hear
It's
us?
such a bad night over on this side. It's like all my audio and video problems are just reflective of my dark, cold heart right
I was
now.
going to say, Graham Harrell's handling our AV now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I mean, I'm glad no one can hear what I can hear.
You sound good, though.
That's awesome. Good. You sound horrible in my ear. It's like you're a robot.
I mean,
I was going to say, I don't think there's anything to do with the technology.
25 years of that.
Oh, I'm going to leave again. I'll come back. This is making me crazy. Yeah.
You're going to leave and come back?
It just gets worse.
Bye.
So what were you asking?
I don't even know at this point. I have no idea.
The press conference is what you were saying.
You'll be shocked that I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah.
He talked about how a bunch of prominent, because someone asked the question.
Newbert, yeah.
Was that Newbert who said, what about bringing someone in partway through the season? The thing that we on the side have all talked about, and it's hard to do. He's not wrong in that answer that that's a difficult thing to do. But it's also a fair question to say, why not bring a guy in now who doesn't take over that role, but starts to take on the role of what do you call it? Consultant, advisor?
Yeah, it's like
overseer.
The offensive analyst, I think is what they call it.
Oh, well, yes, you have that exact role, but I think we had talked about someone who comes in that, if you'd hired Dino Babers, if you'd hired someone like that, where you could say they're kind of, I guess they'd be the analyst role, but that guy who's sort of your guy who has experience at doing things that the staff kind of doesn't have any. I mean, so he was asked, and he said a lot of people had reached out, and they decided to keep it in-house and have a guy who's called high school football make call the plays.
So here's the other, my theory. So Justin Simmons coming, I think he's Ben Davis. No, not Ben Davis's old coach.
He was there and somewhere else.
Yeah. But and then Miami of Ohio is where he was kind of before this, and then came on as an offensive analyst. And it's part of this also is it is. So there are a lot of kind of different reactions to this. First, it's once you make the in-season decision to fire Graham Harrell, given the way that this staff is composed, there is no good option. There are now only bad options. Either you keep Graham Harrell after this awful first month of the season, and that's terrible, or you fire him and you bring in somebody which you don't really know off the street, off their couch, maybe, we have a couple of these candidates, and that's a terrible option. Or you elevate someone from internal, and then you figure it out. Hopefully, I think what you were saying was that by the first bye, the second bye week, there he is, he's returned. By the second bye week, you would hope that there is someone in that offensive analyst role, or a OC in waiting kind of role, or something like that. But so you could either kind of hire them now, you could see if there's anything, or you elevate somebody who doesn't have play calling expertise, because the only other person that had any sort of play calling expertise was Seth Dagey, and he is now the offensive coordinator at. He was the tight ends coach last year. He's another kind of very similar to Harrell. He was a air raid quarterback, and ended up as assistant coach and offensive.
Love the air raid guys, by the way. I love the air raid.
It works when it works, and it very much doesn't when it doesn't, right? And he is he's at Marshall now. He's the offensive coordinator at Marshall. He would have been the natural person to take the play calling duties if in-house, and he's not there. And so my theory, and I'm glad you joined again, Boiler Dad, because I haven't actually and changed your name kind of on the chat here, Sangry Ad Boiler Dad. But my theory here that I haven't floated in our group chat yet, I do think that this is the least friction way to make a wholesale change as possible. And I do want, because there are
hiring a really underqualified person?
No, because there's nobody else in house. I mean, so this is the thing. I think that it is a perfectly what I am upset about is the fact that there was no contingency plan this summer put in place in case this happened, right? It's not like you're expecting this to happen, but as a head coach, you kind of have to play that, 4, 5, 6 steps down the road. If this happens, we need to be ready.
I think you guys are upset about the same things. Well, talking about having an underqualified person in there, and you're talking about the fact that he wasn't prepared to have a qualified person in there.
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Exactly. We're in that same spot, but there is the wide receivers coach whose name I'm blanking on.
Corey Patterson.
We like him. He's great. He's a high school.
I like all these guys. I don't have anything against Coach Simmons. I really don't. I just have a problem with. I mean, like I said this during my quick cast. If it's just about being a nice and a good guy, my dad's available. I mean, he's a great guy. He's awesome.
You always get mad.
Just as effective as Graham Harrel was.
You get historically mad at small time thinking. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Small time thinking. That's always been what makes you mad. That's right.
Well, so this to me, I think this
is the smallest time thinking.
Well, so once you have come into the season with this staff, and once you decide to fire Graham Harrell, this is really I understand the logic behind this decision. Doesn't make it a good one, but it's like you have maybe one or two options that are available to you, and what you do is pick
one
or two bad
ones,
right?
Why are we in this position?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's one of my point here is I think you guys are saying the same thing.
If we just keep digging, right? Keep digging for the root, you get there. And I don't want to say anything that's too rash, like you guys have heard me say, or that I've been saying off the camera. I just don't want to say it.
Just us. It's just us and some friends.
Just a couple people on today. But the press conference guys today, that's what set me off. That lit the fuse.
Why did it bother you? Just take the floor.
It bothered me because I thought it was a bunch of excuses from a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, like it sounded as he sounded as unexperienced and ununderstand and his lack of understanding was showing through so badly. Like it felt like this was a group of problems that he never saw coming, and now that this happened, we got to deal with it, and we got to keep everything in a good. What was the word? Continuity. We need continuity.
Right. We don't want to
upset the sweet thing we've got going.
Right. Well, that's where I can understand people getting upset because there's absolutely no downside to upsetting the apple cart completely. Like the only reason you would say that is if you believe that you're still going to win 3 or 4 games, right? Mm-hmm. 4 more, right? The only reason you would think that is the only reason you would say that is you think that's a possibility. And I guess, coaches believe, players believe, we've talked about this. A lot of times they think we're going to win every game. Every play is designed to be good, right? Every game you're trying to win. So that's a sign of, I guess, not giving up on it. But as I said to you guys, taking a big swing and still losing, people would at least say, well, he took a big swing. That was great. I mean,
I do think that your theory of between now, Jay, your theory of between now and the second bye in 4 weeks,
that there's a chance something else
that
happens.
I do think that it's a good.
Newbert asked him that too.
Yeah, and he said he
didn't rule that out.
No.
He did say I would. He goes, if I decide that's the right thing to do, then I'll do that then.
I do think that there's a pretty good chance that happens, and that they're. I mean,
he asked him what? What was the question?
He asked him, would you consider bringing someone in from the outside who's not part of this coaching staff? And that's when he got into the you don't want to upset stuff, you don't want to upset the like the continuity and all that because you got to go play a game in a week. And they specifically asked, I think it was Newbert, asked about the fact that there's a bike. I think he asked about that, didn't he? He talked about it.
Yeah, or he was like, do you want, do you think that somebody else from outside coming into in an advisory role would help?
Right.
And he didn't rule it out. But I do think, so the continuity thing also annoyed me, but what if he answered like this, which was, it's not continuity of system. It's at this point continuity of jobs. Corey Patterson is now still the kind of lead recruiter in kind of certain areas, right? And so a lot of these guys are, I mean, like in Graham Harrell was a big on the
these guys are here because of those guys.
Yeah, and so and part of this also is like Harrell's job isn't only calling the plays or being the quarterback's coach. He does have these kind of recruiting responsibilities that now have to be absorbed by these other coaches too now, right? And so by bringing the analyst down and saying, everybody else stay in your places, everybody else stick with all of the off the field jobs that you have, And the main thing that we're going to be looking for right now is somebody just to focus on kind of offense on the field, offensive creative play calling. Everybody else, it's like somebody kind of, getting fired, leaving or getting fired from your group. It's like, it's not that you stop your jobs, but like you kind of divide up theirs, and then, so this is a version of that. That being said, it is Walter's fault that there was not a more experienced hand that was kind of ready to, take the reins. As a coach, it is your job to have some foresight in this area, right? And make preparations for things like that. Again, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, like, you bring in Justin Fuente, who was IU's kind of analyst, like, last year. You bring Justin Fuente in. He's the analyst this year. And if it goes well, you keep Graham Harrel and he gets another job at a different school or something like that, right? Like, what does it really hurt? But the fact that that wasn't an option here is like that. So when he said continuity, no, he didn't say it in that way, but that is at least the way that I am analyzing it. And so I understand kind of being upset at the way that it was expressed in the conference, right?
Yeah, I'm really in a difficult situation because I've been angry for about 4 hours about this. So Doug and Angie Lata has a comment. If you could bring that up for me, I'd like to respond.
Purdue has nowhere to go but up. Can't get worse. Looking back at Hazel Parker ordeal, it was a right call then and now. I don't quite understand the connection there. Looking back at the Hazel Parker ordeal.
Saying firing Hazel and having Parker take over. Is that what he's saying? Yeah. Maybe. It was the right call then. It's the right call now. Meaning you have to make the firing because it's bad. It can get worse though. And so here's the thing. This is a little different than that. And I'll tell you why this is a little different than that. Because there was some experience on that staff. There's not any experience on this staff. I think this could get better, meaning they could just have somewhat substantive yardage, something that looks like an offense. That could happen. I don't think it would take a ton to make the offense look at least like an offense. I really don't. But it could also get worse in the fact that you have someone taking the reins that has never done it at this level. There is a chance that could happen. And I'm not saying this guy isn't a rising star and he's succeeded on the lower level. It's just giving the keys to a guy. This is like giving me the keys to a Porsche. What's the GT5? Is that what the GTS? What's the one?
GTS, I think.
GTS. If you know anything about that car, it's a race car that's legal for the road.
Oh, I think you mean the GT3. Yeah.
GT3. Okay, that's the one that's like, it's so torquey, it's so bare bones. I'm a decent driver. I would struggle to keep that thing on the road. Okay. I just think
but something great might happen.
Something great could happen. I could really outrun the police. I mean, I don't know what.
But it could be a disaster.
It could be a disaster. Probably end up with me dead. Yeah, there's
quite an analogy.
It could get worse. This is my point. It could get worse. And I was all for accountability and some action being taken. I was never for handing it over to someone where I was like, this guy doesn't have this experience.
But like Patterson doesn't have the experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would you do?
There's nobody else.
I've said this 100 times, and and you guys aren't the only one that's asked me multiple times. I've said this 100 times. There needs to be a consultant in place for that person. Yeah. You have to have someone. I consult for a living.
Sure. Okay.
Jay, you do it too. That's what consultants do. Make the person better that's in house. This is simple.
Totally. Well, I guess the point is, what would you do given the situation, the fact that they lack that?
Right.
What would you
hire a consultant? I mean, like
you could hire someone today.
Hire someone today. I'm not saying like everybody gets the idea, and I know you two don't. Okay, everybody on Twitter who knows everything gets the idea that we're all like, yeah, hire these guys, and this is permanent, and they're coming to Purdue forever. No. That's not what I was.
Especially not what a consultant is.
No, that's not what a consultant does.
Right.
Help the people out that are there. I'm saying, okay, the staff is the staff.
Like a search firm.
Yes, just like a search firm. They need help. They need help. This group needs help. It's clear they need help. And it's possible. It is possible. Bobinski said, you're not getting any more money. I just paid $2 million for nothing. By the way, this is a fun trivia fact. The first time a Purdue football assistant coach is ever going to get paid $1 million will be this year for next year, and he won't be on staff. That's wild, right? That's wild. I mean, that is a horrible, horrible fact. Right? We've heard a lot of them in the last few days, but now you can't. I'm not saying throw bad money into good or whatever, good money into bad. I guess that's what the phrase is. I get why you say that, but don't spend $1 billion. Spend a couple $100,000 and say, we'll take what we can get from you. Give us the next 2-3 weeks on the phone, talking this guy up, coaching him up every day, talking about schemes. What's wrong with our system?
On that note, I think that if that exists, we will never hear about it. The only time we hear about it is when it's on the books, right? Or when it's like an official kind of position or it's something like that, right?
How about this, Anish? Again, this goes back to preparation. And now I get mad at Bobinski because he allowed this to go this far. When I look at the fact that our offensive consultants or whatever they're called are guys from high school, and I use offensive consultant as a guy who's had a 2-time head coaching job last year.
Oh, last year. Yeah.
That really bothers me. And that wasn't...
So that is the situation that I am, and it's the same situation. We're all in this. We're just looking at the same situation, just from different angles. Like the fact that nothing was in place, whether it's Walters, whether it's Bobinski, whether it's like the football operations director is saying that's, or the GM, like every Big Ten or SEC school now has a GM that is in charge of football stuff.
That kind of happened under the cloak of darkness too,
didn't it? Or the assistant AD, right? Like the assistant
kind of appeared.
Tiffany Grimes, like all of these, there are levels of this where it's not just kind of a failure of one person. It to me is like a systemic type thing where it's like you knew that there is a possibility that
he's a first-time head coach.
You know that his strength is on defense, so you're not going to bring in, like, also for his pride. It's like you brought me here because I at 3 different schools have coached these top 10 defenses, right? And so it's like I get it, but at that point, shouldn't you then put resources into like let's have a fail-safe for the offense. Let's make sure that it does. Like let's make sure that there is a safety net. Let's bring in Babers. Let's bring in.
I have two responses to that. One, you shouldn't have. If your head coach needs training wheels that significantly, then that's a big problem. Number two. It's a problem. If you're saying, why didn't you guys know that he wouldn't know what he was doing in this situation? I have a bit of an issue with that. But we can disagree on that. The thing I will not give in on is you're saying, well, you knew he brought him in because he was a defensive guy. Okay, well, they've given up a ton of points and gotten blown out every game except against a lower division school. Blown out. Like, you can say whatever you want.
We can blame it on whoever we want, but it's still, that's defensive column problem.
You're getting smoked. You gave a 38 to Oregon State. You lost by 17 points. That's a lot. That's 3 scores. People, I think it felt less because you were sort of in the game for a little while and it wasn't 66-7. So suddenly your barometer is like, oh, all right, we didn't get absolutely pasted. That's still a terrible, that's an ass kicking. And then to lose the fourth quarter 21-3, 21-10. Like,
at
that's
that point,
terrible.
There's no gap. I mean, like at what point when for 3 quarters you're holding up your end of the bargain? And
well, yes,
there's nothing.
Things improved tremendously, right? and if you want to find one little
was Nebraska impressive offensively, guys?
No.
Okay.
At all.
So
I would say they weren't impressive offensively. They were
impressive. It looked like they were running a very vanilla version of their offense to me. Like it looked, like I said, it looked like 4 plays being rotated. And I might be out of line, and a Nebraska fan could probably answer that. I could ask somebody about that because I think I could. You guys can tell me. You're smarter than me. It felt like, and Handel Jones had this. He sent me, I'm not kidding, a 12-minute of audio text. And every minute was great. I love Handel.
Podcast.
Yes, exactly. He gave me a one-man podcast.
A quick cast.
And he's not on here. Yeah, it was, exactly. A quick cast. Same way. That's a very short text. Very quick. Handel and I have the same manager on our time. And, but he had a great point. And he said that, didn't it feel like Nebraska was just playing with their food? Just like kind of, we don't need to do anything more. We're not going to do it because we're not panicked.
Maybe, yeah, exactly.
I know they didn't, but they did. What did they try in the first half? Where it was like they're trying to rattle the rust loose.
I think that Nebraska is not. I think they're a talented team, and they will be a good team, and they're on the right kind of a track. I don't think that they're very good this year. or at least what they showed in Ross Ed was not very good, and Purdue absolutely could have won that game. That's the other part that hurts. Purdue could have, I think you said this on one of your quick casts this weekend. It's not for a lack of talent. Purdue does have the people that can stand up. Maybe not in the not in the Michigan or in the Notre Dame game,
right?
But Oregon State and Nebraska, Purdue absolutely could have won both of those games, and probably should have won both of those games.
Yeah.
If even an average offense from not even like the last 8 years, like it shows up, maybe or let's say Danny Hope's 4, and let's not take the 4 years before that. Let's not go beyond there. But Danny Hope's 4 years.
You got to put him in there.
Right?
You have to. I know. We don't like. We got to put him in there. It's real.
To me, it's like we have the players that can do this.
Yeah.
It really does seem like a schematic thing. And I'm not saying that that is a reason to not bring in a defensive specialist. But what I am saying is of the two sides of the ball that have, and last year we didn't have a special teams coordinator, and this year there is now kind of a special teams coordinator who's a psycho.
That's on the head coach though too.
Yeah.
That's on the head coach.
But so what I'm saying is between last year and this year, what you did see was, okay, we put our system in play, or we wrapped our hands around what the problem or what the job is. Now we bring in the special teams coordinator and we're sanding the edges. The problem is, in that process, how does nobody involved in this see that, hey, at least a safety net is needed on the offensive side of the ball? And that's the part where it's somebody involved, Bobinski, Grimes, Walters, somebody has to say, or has to realize this and say, yeah, we're bringing in this person just because they we've interviewed them before, or they've coached here before, or they're unemployed and they were they want to take kind of a side job, advising in the Big Ten. And to me, you hired Walters knowing that he is a low floor but high ceiling hire. What you're betting on is that Purdue, 3-4 years from now, Purdue would never have been able to hire the coach that Walters grows into, because he's on a trajectory that is, where those kind of coaches, when they are on the rise, never choose Purdue. Right?
I have such a hard time with this way of thinking. And the older I get, the more I have a hard time with this, because I see it all over the world, in every part of the world, where people are like, man, that potential. People just love potential. But to me, it's what have you actually done should be the bigger question. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand why Bobinski threw out years and years of success and the way he hired, the way he interviewed. And we went on with this idea that, man, it could be great if. I mean, I don't understand how this applies in the real world. I just don't, even when and I see people do it in the real world and it generally fails there too. I just don't like the idea. I don't like that being the way you do things man, here's the thing. Anish, and I know you're not the only person who thinks this way, but when I look at that, doesn't it feel like if he does do what everyone was hoping, I was hoping for it too, but if he does do that rocket ship, he's gone anyway. He's not going to stay at Purdue. There's nothing to tie him down. So I guess that's fun to rent a guy for 2 years. That's all you get out of it. You'd hope that you earn some loyalty.
You're saying what's the upside? You're saying what's the upside? Yeah, even if he's great, he's gone anyway. Yeah,
right. That is the school that is the place in football that Purdue is, regardless of.
But I don't Here's the thing. I'm going to go this is another thing that I heard this on Twitter all day. It's not your fault, okay? But I heard that type of thinking all day. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this. It's just Purdue. And I'll tell you why I'm sick of it. The rules have changed in the last few years because of the giant bags of money that the Big Ten Network brings. That is a difference maker.
Yeah.
The world is different because of that. And guess what? Schools like IU they didn't go ahead and say, well, we're just fucking IU. And pardon my language, but we are the historically worst football program in Division I. They didn't do that. They went after a guy who was tough to get, that a lot of people went. And guess what else he had? A very deep resume. But they went after him.
Well, they went after 2 years ago. They went after last year, I guess. They went after the Braum of 2016, which is that's what Purdue did. In all ways, in all ways. Yeah.
They won 9 games twice.
It is working. Let's say it is
no,
working.
No, I thought you meant the Brom hire.
No. Oh, the Brom hire. Oh, for
and they
sure.
won games. And they won games coming off the worst era of their history.
Yeah.
They were never an embarrassment again.
I think that it is a perfectly fine thing to hire a first-time head coach, but you cannot hire without a infrastructure in place to make sure that
that's fair.
Like you can't do, and that was the thing. As we kept on hearing the assistant coaches hired and this, that, and the other, we were waiting for the grizzled vet.
Didn't we all I think we all, and I think you didn't mind the Harrell hire in this.
No,
we all ended up. When you get a defensive head coach and then he goes, I want to get an air raid guy to make, we were all like, okay, this is Purdue. I'm glad you want to get that kind of an offense. But I do remember us all thinking, wow, this is a young coaching staff.
Yeah.
And I remember us being, it's exciting, but I do remember us talking about,
But then that's what
nobody
the Big
over
Ten
38.
money is. That's where the Big Ten money, there is no salary cap, right? Because I don't agree that because of the money, all of that, which is not what you're saying, like all of the barriers are gone. Because it's like it's not just Purdue that's getting the money.
Can I interrupt real quick?
The NIL.
Ted Berkey says something that I think we ought to, and I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but he says we only won 9 games once. So we went 8-6. Okay. That's a failure? We're going to call that a failure? 8,
Historically 6 to 8 wins. Yeah.
Son of a, we only got 8 wins that year.
I mean, we'll take
the year that they went to the Big Ten title game, you mean? And then they didn't win their bowl game because the program fell apart because Brom left.
Yeah. I think if you want to get mad at Brom, you could say, well, he had a bad year in there, but I mean, the worst year was COVID, right?
The year after was also
year before 19 he went 4
or year before
2020 he went 2-4.
Was that when the quarterback situation or something?
Yeah, or injuries, super injuries, because that's when Moore and Bell were both.
No, he was not perfect. The thing that he was, and this is a niche. This is one of your great points. Was he was well above the average wins as a Purdue coach, right? You have 53% as a program. Is that right? I think that's right. And he was 58,
also
60.
The big difference with him, because in the end he had a 4-8 year, he had some 6s, but he won top 5 games. That had not happened at Purdue in a very long time.
And played the style, right?
And he played the style Purdue wanted. Remember when Joe Tiller passed away and he made the first play in the next game, the bubble screen?
Yeah.
And he said he did it on purpose because of to honor Tiller. That's the kind of stuff that I know that doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that was a guy who got it. He got what we needed to do at Purdue and ran it that way.
To me, I where I'm saying is like the resources have an effect is that it's not going to all of a sudden like bolster our NIL because everybody in the Big Ten gets this. It's not going to bolster.
Coach Walter said the NIL was now in the position where we're on a competitive playing field,
and
right?
I do think that is there, and that's good. Where it should be the biggest benefit when you compare to, let's say, programs like Oregon State is these analyst roles. For a young staff, what should have been a priority is getting grizzled guys just in and out every year. There should be one old guy as an analyst that you throw $150,000-$200,000 on, and you just put them in this place because it's like this is a young coaching staff, and the fact that it wasn't
serious question
to me.
Do those guys are they always around? I'm not trying to be funny. Are those the older guys? Are they always?
Your mileage varies, right? So it really depends on how involved or how not.
Because let's say you hired. I'm trying to think of somebody who's a really. let's say you hired Tedford. Okay, and I know he's got a health issue.
List. Okay, Tedford. Okay.
But Tedford, I mean, like that's a guy who still won after as he retired. He was still winning. He has health issues.
He retired because health issues.
Health issues. But let's say you said, "Hey Jeff, we really need." By the way, there's a pretty good consultant.
Yeah.
Just Monday morning phone calls. That's all we're asking for, Jeff. Right? Monday morning phone calls and a little bit of tape analysis, and you talk to our new up and coming offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Just that's all we're asking. And so like he doesn't have to come on campus. He can stay out west wherever he lives. Is that a common practice? And if it's not, this is where I said you need innovative thinking.
Absolutely.
That's an innovative way of thinking. Say, okay, we're going to let you stay where you are. It's just like that work from home thing that I talk about all the time in my personal life, right? Some companies are afraid of it now. Now they think everybody needs to come back in the office and, okay, even though you've given them the taste of this elixir, some people can work at home and they're going to be pretty damn productive. So maybe it's time to try something like that. Hopefully, like you said, this is actually happening. I would think we'd hear about that. Purdue is not a place of dark secrets. It's just not the way. I mean, the Brahms were good at keeping secrets because the entire place was a tight trap. But anyway.
No, and I do think that it is kind of an indictment on, I talk about infrastructure a lot. That's probably the word that I've used the most in these kind of coaching coaching change situations. I think that this is an infrastructure failure as much as it is kind of a unfortunate thing. And again, Graham Harrel was a hire that everybody loved inside and outside of the fandom. Like real resources were put there, and it just didn't hit right. What you have to do is make sure that in every situation the program can sustain. The program can sustain beyond any individual part's failure, and we are not in that position right now. And so, what I will do right now is feel upset that we are in this position, and if by the bye we haven't heard any by the second bye. We haven't heard anything, that's when it's like, wow, what is going on here? Like, is it Bobinski that's not kind of pulling the trigger? Is it the budget that's not doing this? Is it Walters that can't find the actual candidate that fits? Is it maybe, and in the best case scenario, the offense is humming, and so things are okay, and we just beat Wisconsin.
But think about what we're doing. This is where I was. You guys saw I was angry earlier today at that idea. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been not happy all afternoon. I've been trying not to talk, not to engage with people, because the old adage, don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. And so I've had lots of non-nice things to say. But the idea of waiting, okay, think about what you're waiting for. If we wait till that, the next two games are absolutely clobber. They're teams that are going to beat the living hell out of you.
I mean,
you've already waited that long.
You're hoping it's earlier, not for the bye, but it's like that is kind of the deadline, right? Get it done early, like get it done this week, announce it by Friday, whatever. But it is a level 1 failure for this to happen. The second order failure is if we get to the bye and nothing else has happened and the offense doesn't look any better, like that is the second order failure. And that's where it's like offensive coordinator hires sometimes flame out, or coordinator hires sometimes flame out. And this happens. That would tell me though, that there is some sort of kind of like deeper failure that is there. If the offense both looks bad and there is nobody that comes to help, during this transition time, by the second bye, that is when it's like a second order failure, and it's like you can't let it get there, right?
So let me clarify another thing, because I've been trying to do this. I years ago, Jay and I learned this. If you don't really hammer a deal home, like keep pounding an idea, people won't hear it, and they'll say that you're whatever, even though you've said it. So I'm going to say it again, okay? And I'm going to say it specifics that I've told you guys about Coach Simmons. I got nothing against the man.
No.
Okay. I've heard lots of good stuff. Like, people have DM'd us. I've gotten messages from people that know the guy. Okay. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm saying that I don't think he's qualified to take this over in this context. I'm not saying it's a guaranteed failure, but again, this one isn't even one where you had people knocking on the door. Hey, can we talk to that guy? Can he come over to our program? Nothing against the guy, okay? Nothing against the guy. I just don't think this is the right answer for this situation.
Yeah.
Boy, well, how about this? Isn't this a hard circumstance for a guy who really wants more and wants to coach in college? Isn't this about as bad of a circumstance you get, and you're kind of doing him a disservice? Doesn't it feel like that a little bit?
I don't think these guys ever see it that way.
I know.
Getting an opportunity is huge in the Big Ten. If you beat any of those next few teams, then that's something, right? You probably
so Parker, bring Parker up. This is an interesting thing, because Purdue fans really wanted to see Gerard Parker do well, right? When he came in as interim coach for Hazel.
Mm-hmm. He did not.
And he did not. They did not win a game. But guess what? He did land on his feet. So I guess I am I'm not correct in that idea of it being a bad
because
situation.
You know what?
That could damn
you know what?
right?
It gets excused because he came into an impossible situation, right?
Right.
And
Fair.
you know what else? ADs and other coaches look at how the team played, and those guys, as I recall, played for him. Those players liked him, and they played hard.
Yeah.
I remember there being in a couple games that we were like, oh, all right, they played hard, but we're supposed to drink every time Anish says infrastructure.
That's it, baby.
I don't have anything hard enough for that to matter. Darn it.
That's the thing. It's like this is how you sustain beyond just an individual, right? Like beyond an individual failure. Like you build a machine that can withstand any kind of individual.
There's no machine right now, right?
And that's for the first time in the Bobinski tenure, this is the first time I'm questioning his
wisdom. Yes.
Yeah, like where's the machine behind this? The wisdom is the exact right thing. That is the ability
wisdom.
Yeah, the ability to anticipate problems and build something under it so that if that happens,
at the end of the year,
it's not a complete thing. Right?
I think this team is playing itself, and I would not have said this even 3 weeks ago. Even after the Notre Dame game, I was. You guys know I was not saying this. I think there's a decent chance that this is Walter. You talked about the Alamo in a few weeks, against Northwestern.
Northwestern.
Even that, I don't think. I mean, if they win 2 games this year, man, I think
that's an atrocious record, and we should not be like. Even me,
I don't think he survives it. And I would 3 weeks ago, I didn't say that. Even after the Notre Dame game, I said I don't know. I think he gets a 3rd year no matter what. I didn't see how you couldn't, but I also thought they would go out to Oregon State and win. So,
I mean, that one, that is the best offseason prediction that there's been, which is like the importance of that game, like how we would feel about the season, really hinged on that game. Where it was like,
we're 2-2 right now.
Well,
with the win there, you'd say, okay, not great, but
the other problem is that would Harrell have been fired, otherwise? But
no, he wouldn't have. No. Let me ask you guys a question.
Last week,
this is you guys. You brought up Jay. You said vision and wisdom of Bobinski. I like the wording there. Okay, and let's go back a little bit more in our conversation where we said we all bought in, or we've all said, okay, yeah, we're excited about the Walters thing. I don't know if you remember this. The thing that got me excited about the Walters hire was hearing Bobinski talk about him.
And why he chose him,
yeah. I was like, dude, you can tell he's stoked about this hire. This wasn't like, okay, we got a guy that we think is gonna. No, he said we got the guy, right? Yep. And so everybody makes mistakes, but I put a lot of trust in him because I really believe in Bobinski and what he had done up to that point, right? So this is tough to swallow for me on a lot of levels. I can tell you this much: I'm not happy that Walters looks like a guy that you're like, man, if this happens, then I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy that I'm doubting Bobinski, but I can tell you both of these things are things that like it's around Bobinski's neck, and it's something that is going to hurt the perception of him as the AD, and he doesn't have a lot of time left in his career at Purdue. He just doesn't. He's not a young man.
We had a comment again. I know we don't do a great job always getting to the comments, but Blake Widmer says Walters will get a 3rd year no matter what, even if we lose out.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's the case. Because this team is more talented than some of those Hazel teams that like he had a 1-win season. And there's no way. I mean, there's no way. If you not no way, but 1-11, I can't imagine it.
I don't think this era allows that.
It's a different era. Exactly. It's a different era. He's getting paid $4 million. There's millions of dollars in NIL money. You can remake your roster in the offseason. So
we know, here's what we know. And here's what he knows. He knows you're going to come into a stadium next year that does not look like the same program. If they go 1-11, they go 2-10. There are a lot of people that are making promises to the athletic department that then I'm not buying tickets. Then I'm not going to give money. That is the thing. That is the killer for an athletic department.
But that's what ends it, right?
Right.
If if it was a season that felt like last year where there was still excitement at the end of the year, I keep saying this, even in a 4-8 season, there was still energy and excitement among the fans at the end of the year because they thought, all right, there's something there. I see something potentially. If you had a season like that against this schedule, even the same record, he's definitely back because you'd have had a couple wins in there that you were like, all right, I got something I can stick my teeth into. That it was a fun night in there.
Right.
But if you have 0 of those, the stuff changes, man. This stuff changes fast. I completely agree with you. And that's when it's over. It wouldn't be another 4-8 season. I don't think at all. I don't think he's close to getting.
Even 3. I think even 3.
I think it depended upon what those 3 wins were too, right? How here's the thing. We all said this coming in the season that we thought it could look like a step forward and the record could be a little worse, or they could be the same. We all said that because we thought they would compete at the same level.
It was a tough record. Tough kind of schedule.
And we thought last season they did show signs of life towards the end of the season.
Felt like you were ramping up. Yes. Felt like they were figuring it out.
Yep.
And
by the way, somebody over here says something that it shows that they may not have been around here very long. Rudy Ray Moore says nobody knew who Ryan Walters was. That's incorrect. And I can tell you why I know that, because Anish had him on his list. And Ryan Walters, this is one thing we joke about the Boiled Sports. What's the acronym you give it?
The search firm.
The search firm. We don't have an
BSSF. Okay. This is not a joke. We are a bunch of guys that do this as a hobby, and we found a way to really know who is coming. Like just by beating bushes, thinking about it, talking amongst ourselves. But Anish is good at this. Okay. If Anish knew, do you think someone who actually does this for a living knew who Coach Ryan Walters was?
I mean, and he was also like the finalist for all of the, the Broyles Awards and like all of the.
Yeah, he was an excellent DC.
He's a very good defender. He's not. This is not a guy that was dragged in off the streets. Right. That's not true. And I'm not trying to say that. And we didn't say that. We didn't ever hint at that. We just said he's young and he didn't have you and I, Jay. Is what I'm sorry. I'm looking at you.
No, I'm looking at a comment that said Oregon State was winnable. Botched read by card killed it. They lost.
That's
by 17.
The one play.
They lost by 17. I'm sorry to derail you there.
Yeah.
But guys, there's so many comments that are being made. I got into a back and forth, not angry, but a back and forth with
not like me, Jay. You've been
someone on Twitter today who was arguing that, and someone on the side over here also made a comment about this. They implied that a defensive-minded coach wouldn't want a fast-paced air raid offense. And I was like, first of all, the defense and the offense are not on the field at the same time. So a defensive-minded coach can preach his defensive philosophies, and the offense can do literally anything else. This guy was arguing with me and then he said, this guy arguing with me was claiming that an air raid isn't a fast-paced offense. And I said, what are you talking about?
When it's done well, it is.
Right. Exactly. I said, I agree. Harrell's wasn't.
So Jay, let me give you a caveat that's not, it's really not, I don't know if this guy had seen these comments, but on Golden Black, I think Newbert made the insinuation. I don't know if it's a direct quote or not. So I don't want to do that, but someone told me that he said that Walters has now said, I need an offense that can hold onto the ball for a long time. That's a very different sales job than what we heard when he hired Harrell, right? Because when he hired Harrell and when he came in, he said, we're going to have this exciting dynamic offense and we're going to have this defense that is all over the field. These two things are going to work together, like what you were saying, Jay. Well, now he's hedging his bet and he's saying, okay, I can't do this defense the way I want to without an offense that is going to slow the game down. And I can tell you that much. If that quote, and somebody can tell me if I'm right or wrong in the margin, because a lot of people have read this. If that is the quote from Walters, I can tell you there's another reason to be even more upset with what's happening right now. Because
I don't know. That seems like, but that is also like secondhand, like third hand. Like,
let's see. This is, I mean, my source is good. My source does read a lot. And if that's a quote, that's a problem. That's a big problem because that's going and saying, okay, I guess maybe my defense isn't quite what I thought it was.
Or the pieces aren't there right now. So like I was saying last week, show me concepts, show me theory, show me something. On the defensive side of the ball, we saw changes this week, right? And we saw changes that even us idiots could see. We saw the placement of Thieneman. We saw the way that they played gaps. We saw that there were a whole bunch of schematic choices that were made that shows that there is something happening on the defensive side of the ball, and it lasted for 3 quarters and then, kind of fell apart in the fourth. There was nothing offensively, and I would say there was even more heat on the offense, right? I mean, that we know this kind of ball, and there's nothing that we saw, right? And so this to me is that is where it, like, the firing makes sense, but now it's like, I don't know, you see, and it makes it just all feels worse when your rival also hired a good coach and and is doing well, right? It's tough to see IU hire a very Purdue-esque coach and, play in that kind of aggressive offensive way, right? And IU is doing well. Now, again, why I keep hedging and saying that they are doing well now is that in that transfer era, we have instances where these coaches come in, they bring their players for 1 year. It goes well that first year, but that's the other side of the foundation, right? Like the long-term success isn't really set up very well because they put all of their eggs into just the first year, and either they get hired away to a different job or, they just focus on the wins that, is right in front of them, and the long-term health of the program kind of suffers from that. But, like so there are like different ways to build. Here it's a slow build, right? We knew hiring Walters, that it's going to be there. So you have to be looking for these signs of system and a sign of progress and a sign of maybe that it doesn't appear in the, in the win-loss column, but there are these kind of, signs, right? You got to get to year 4 for it to get, for it to matter. And with a disaster like this, it's like I am always erring on the side of patience, especially when it comes to somebody like Walters, who seems like it's going to be frustrating when if this doesn't work out. If we go 1-11 or 2-12 or 2-10, he gets fired, and at his second head coaching job, he does well. Like we can all bet, but like it just wasn't meant to be, and
right.
That's there. But part of this also is like if we are
patient, he baked that cake. He baked that cake with the staff. And that may be the big learning he has at that next job. Right.
But it's to your point, he'll learn from this and he'll be better.
But it's a Bobinski thing too, where it's like
no. I understand your point about having the consultants in there, but he built that staff, and Bobinski let him build that staff. Yeah, like he let him do it exactly as he wanted to.
Totally.
And so I would bet right now, if you said to him, how would you build the staff right now? If you got a do-over card, I guarantee he said, I have 3 or 4 vets on this thing.
Yeah.
You think Walter would say that?
Yeah. Well, I think Walter.
You mean with true serum?
With true serum. Exactly. Not with, because I'll tell you one thing, that's one of the letdowns for me is
the lack of like just saying, calling a spade and saying.
Well, I think he's done a great job calling out himself when he's saying I wasn't ready for this, wasn't for that, rather that. He's been humble in that. Yes. But what he did today, that whole press conference, and then the actions and the subsequent press conference, those are the hardest things to swallow for me. They were a lot harder for me to swallow than watching what I've seen on the field, because I'm like, man,
it's also it might be the first time a 37-year-old or 38-year-old has ever had to fire anybody. You know what I mean? And
sure.
That's like
it might be, and
it's just
that's
like
tough, but that's also part of the job.
He didn't handle it well, and I think it's.
I think he handled it fine.
Meaning, like
publicly, he handled it great, right? We don't know what he did.
Yeah. Oh no, meaning just like the messaging.
Oh sure.
Behind it, like. Because there's an internal way of handling it, which it seems like by all accounts, everybody loves Graham Harrel, and by all accounts, like people like Walters, and they had a good relationship. But that's the thing. Like this staff doesn't, isn't wanting for good people, which is what makes this.
Well, and that's nice. Right? And we all, I think we would all say, like, you don't want to win with, let's think of some of the terrible, Art Briles and guys like that, like I wouldn't want those kinds of people affiliated with Purdue. So I'm glad these guys are at least likable.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt are working hard. And I hurt for them too, in the sense that, like, man, it's got to be daunting to think about the schedule that's ahead and keeping the guys focused on just the next game, right? Not losing your players or they get their brains beaten in every week. Like, because I think that's what's coming. I think October is going to be, you either come out of October with a team that you've lost, right? Or they love Walters forever because maybe they've rallied the troops, they figure something out and they win one of those, 1 or 2 of those, and you're like, ooh, there it is. It's there. I mean, he said that. He said, I still believe, and this is also what you want to hear in terms of like why you would fire someone, because I think we're better than this. I think we can do better than this. I think our offense can be better than this. He's saying things we've been saying. There's enough talent there. That's the point. He's not saying, well, there's just, we don't have the right. He's saying, no, we have the right talent. We have enough.
And what you're hoping to get that guy to that point, Jay, exact point, what you're hoping is to use it is that you can sell that to someone and I have my list up here, like Dane Mullen, like Dustin Fuente, like Dana Holgerson, to just say like, hey, if you think that there is opportunity here, you can come in and be the person that Purdue hired, and you can show a before and after. And that will make it so much easier. That will be a boon for whatever next step like you are looking for. Yeah. In addition to this massive pile of cash we are about to kind of give you for consulting, right? And that's like Dowd, like that. Boiler Dowd, that's the thing you were saying earlier too, which is like this should be an opportunity. There should be opportunities for creativity here. And if you do believe that this is a more talented roster than that, then you should be able to sell that to kind of one of these guys that can come and serve that role.
I think Barry Odom's cousin is in the comments on the right.
Yeah. Do we have Barry Odom's agent in the comments?
Barry Odom's agent, perhaps. That's at least the third comment from Rudy Ray Moore that Barry Odom would be great. Should go out and get him right now. Barry Odom has aren't they 3-0 or 3-1 or 4-0 or something like that? UNLV
good team.
They also have a quarterback that just left.
I know that,
but they have their backup. It looked really good last week.
Good for them. But
I don't think he's going to be.
I don't know if that's a serious comment or not. I never know.
It's a serious comment.
You guys are all so funny, but you can't. I can't even get my head around that. You're going to go to a coach that's employed and get him to leave to come to Purdue and do what? Be an analyst, or you say fire Walters and install Odom before next week, like it's College Football 25? Actually, I shouldn't even say that because I shouldn't denigrate the insanity.
You can't even do that in the video
game. You can't even do that in a video game. Yeah. So,
oh really? It won't let you do it?
No. What? So, one thing, it was funny because I thought I was going to bring this up on the podcast, and it would be the first time that it's said in a public forum. But I think Newbert brought this up, and he was doing it in a way, maybe that's not entirely serious, but it's not entirely joking. If you look at Akron, they are clearly on the path to fire Joe Moorhead at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Like, how would you, would it be impossible to double his salary and just say, hey, come in right now? Like, so Purdue interviewed him in 2016 when he was Penn State's offensive coordinator before he took the Mississippi State head coaching job, and did a pretty good job until he got SEC'd out of the gig. Right. And so Bobinski knows him. Purdue has a history with him.
Have you seen his record at Akron?
Yeah, it's bad. But Akron is, I think, we were talking about FBS jobs,
buddy.
like the Power 5 jobs. Akron, I think, is the actual worst FBS job
right?
that there is.
He's 5-24 in his third season.
It's bad. But we're not asking him to be a head coach. But look at Mississippi State when you're taking that gig, and
2 bowls, 2
and
seasons,
the offense
and 2 bowls,
and the offense at Penn State. He knows how to coach offense, right? And that's what you're looking for. You're not going to get a 10-win coach that's going to be on offense.
I'm watching Jay as he's reading more. He's getting it's like he's in a windstorm. He's hitting more and more.
It's that gif of the kid
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If he was winning at Akron, we wouldn't be talking about getting him as Purdue's offensive coordinator in the middle of the year, right? And so these are the kind of guys that you have to try and identify.
There's no way they hire someone as the offensive coordinator in the middle of the year. The one thing that they might do, and I don't think they will, but between now and the bye, hiring in an analyst,
external analyst.
We talked about.
I don't think you want to see, we talk about rashness or that idea. If you hire an offensive coordinator with normal offensive coordinator money and contract and all that, you are really making a mistake because you didn't give yourself a chance to see actually who was available.
Exactly.
Well, someone made a good point over here, by the way. I'll go back on what I said, and there was a good point made. Somebody said, John Reinhardt, if you go back a little bit, he says, Harrell found out he's not a bright guy, which is not nice. I don't think that's fair to say, but he said it caught up on the Purdue. The other jobs he had, arguably, there was better talent. I was thinking about that the last couple of days. At USC, there was certainly better talent. That's when he was good, and
it didn't end well, right?
Nah, I think it was just USC. That was an unstable era.
Shitty AD,
it was fine. Yeah, exactly.
But he definitely had better talent there. But I will say, when he started his first OC job, I think was North Texas, and he took them from one of the worst offenses to a top 25 offense. So we've talked about this. It's not that we think he's a bad guy or that he doesn't know, And somebody in here said, does he get another job? Absolutely.
Yes.
He'll have another job next season. He will absolutely.
I think if anything else, people will hire him as a quarterback coach.
Yes,
anyway.
Totally.
Or a lower division program will hire him as an OC and think it's a boom.
By the way, everybody talked. You and I, Jay, we talked about this. When he talks, it's almost like the tape slowed down. He's just like, just so cool. And that's one thing you want to see. Some young quarterbacks, they need that calming force. That might be a great one if you have a specific guy, right?
He could recruit quarterbacks. He was one. He's not that old. He's laid back. Like I totally could see why you could recruit.
Yeah. He did a good job. He helped nail down Card. That was a good thing for Purdue. Like it's not gone according to plan, but he was a commodity. Like there are a lot of people that wanted Card, and he was one of the main things.
I know that there's a number of folks, won't name anyone, who think that Card has not played up to his ability. However, continuity at the quarterback position. Remember all those years where they were running multiple quarterbacks out there over and over, switching guys in and out. Having some continuity there is a good thing. And he is, I will stay on this hill. He is far from the biggest problem they have had.
No, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, there's no doubt he's not he is definitely not the biggest problem. The problem with a quarterback being just okay, along with an offense that looks horrible, it's the easiest thing to say, let's try something new, right? That's my thing.
One guy out rather than a whole line.
Rather than saying, let's go over,
right. Well, you made a point off the air, which I hadn't thought about, and because you were just guessing, you're like, who knows what happened? You were like, who knows if Bobinski said you have to do this, or if Walter said I want to do this, and you said Hudson Card could have said, what is going on here? We were just got off saying we could see why quarterbacks like Hudson Card would like Graham Harrel, but you're right. You don't know he's had a couple games where he looked like half the quarterback he was last year,
right?
And that's weird. You don't usually see a regression like that,
right? And it's so hard when you're in completion. His completion rating's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing decent balls. He's just not getting the opportunity to do anything in this offense right now.
Yeah, and the wide receivers are just not on the same page. There's something at Albany's like, why wasn't Harrell successful? I mean, part of this is just a lack of creativity, vanilla offense, and not identifying and putting your best playmakers that you have available and that are at full strength in positions where their strengths can kind of be spotlit, right? Right now, it's like you've got two good running backs. You've got a really good pass-catching tight end. You've got some young wide receivers that can run precise short routes.
You know what else you got? How about this? This is because I think there have been a huge undercurrent of Purdue fans have talked about, Purdue's got these big, strong wide receivers on the outside, possession-type receivers, but they're in a lot of speed since Smith isn't available. Okay, it's a fair point, but those guys, I'm like, there's a useful. You can use a big, strong, big body receiver who can go get a ball, right? You can use that. So I'm not against those guys, but you have these young running backs, these scat backs you could put in a slot just to say every now and again, bring them in because those guys are fast too. That's the thing. You got two of the fastest guys that are sitting on the bench, hardly playing at all right now at running back. Give me a jet sweep. Give me it once a half, right?
Or even these kind of like even these screens that put them in those type of positions. Like man, you're talking about the Joe Tiller bubble screen. Like how many times do we make that joke? But like at this point, I'd love to see Reggie Love get the ball kind of in that with that much space. And here's the other thing is that another thing schematically when it comes to Harrell, last year. The uptick happened at the end of the year when it was like the leash was taken off of Card. So it was almost like the first 3 quarters of the season, Card played with a governor on him, right? Because it was like, if you get injured, our season is done. Because there was no backup quarterback that was ready behind him and all of these kind of things. Purdue's in a much better position, when it comes to kind of off the bench quarterbacks this year. And so what should have been done is let's say this is your last year at Purdue. I don't know what the eligibility situation is, but it's like, this is your year. This is your year to showcase, like put him in more running positions, allow him to run outside of the pocket a little bit more. Put him kind of, out on the side there and like making a few throws on the run and kind of sliding the whole pocket alongside. There was nothing. It was just vanilla, right? And that's why it's like it was like Harrell went back to calling it and designing it scared, and that just didn't work. That just didn't work out.
The Noodle had hit a retort to me a minute ago. He said the wide receivers are.
Hold on, before you do that, I'll put Josh Kutzel's most recent comment up, Anish. Josh,
just with your name on there.
Yes, that is the comment of the night. Well said.
Yes.
Well said.
Finally, somebody brings a good point. The Noodle says wide receivers are all hurt. They're broken bodies, not big bodies. Okay, so before I respond to this, let me ask him, what's a big receiver in your opinion? Okay, we've been around Purdue a long time. I'd say 6'2", 6'3" is a pretty good sized receiver, right? Is that a fair thing? Can you three? Can three of us agree? Okay, so I'll look at the depth chart. And why they may not be experienced. Leland Smith is 6'4", 219 pounds, and he's been one of the more productive receivers this year. Shamar Rigby, true freshman, 6'3", 187. That's a pretty big receiver. Jerron Tibbs, who's probably been the most productive receiver consistently this season. Maybe he and Morissette. He's 6'3", 214. And then Morissette is 6'1" and 200 pounds. I would say those are big receivers. Is that fair?
These are big
so my
guys.
whole point is these guys are they're underexperienced, but I think these are good sized bodies. And I think these are guys that can run routes pretty well. I think the problem they've had when you've put them in a position where they have to go up and get a ball, we've seen a couple guys struggle on that. And that's the thing that's weird is I think Harrell's been relatively accurate, but he's sailed a couple that you're like, okay, that guy should have Tibbs should have, I think 2 balls specifically in the last 2 games that killed drives that were just out of his reach. Bring him down just a little bit, give the guy a chance to make the play. Right. But I do think those are pretty big receivers. That's my whole point. And the Noodle and I think we've been dancing together. We're good buddies, but I disagree.
But there's the other thing with Card, and I know I'm the Card defender here, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, though. The line very frequently is not giving him any time to do anything.
Time.
And if you've got plays, if you've got inexperienced wide receivers and plays are taking a long time to develop and the line's not protecting the quarterback, that's a bad combo of things. And again, I will always say I am no football coach, but when your line can't protect, and I know everybody had high hopes for this line, right? But this is where you have to stop being stubborn and saying, well, but the line's, they're pretty experienced. No, it's not working. It's not working. Something's not right. So to put some plays in that I'm sure are already in the playbook that are quick developing, little outs, screens, go back to the stuff that works. With a guy like Card has shown he can be very accurate. He has shown that. And I know the only game this year where he was excellent was Indiana State. And I know everyone discounts that. He still was very accurate. He was extraordinarily accurate. So
he wasn't inaccurate in this last game, really, except for one play.
If he sails a couple of games, he's a college quarterback. I mean, that's going to happen.
No, he wasn't horribly inaccurate. Just go back and look at his stats. What is he? 17 for 25. That pick was atrocious, but he really, I mean, maybe that's part of the reason they don't go over the middle very often. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has a hard time seeing the linebacker in a back pedal. I don't know. Seems like a pretty easy thing to see, but I'm 5'4" and I couldn't see over anything.
Well, how many teams do you think would go 4 games without a takeaway and have a pick 6 in 3 straight games? That's
oh my gosh.
The pick 6 in 3 straight games
is incredible.
Somebody said like, what's the record? It might have been on last week's. No, when did I see? Maybe it was in one of your quick hits. What's the record for consecutive games with a pick 6? And it can't be much more than 3. It can't be.
I can't be.
like going for history.
Do you go with a backup? I mean, a lot of people are calling.
No. But I think it's okay to say it's still Hudson's job, but we're going to use Brown. You know, we're going to have wrinkles put in where we're going to have running plays. We're going to have them both on the field sometimes. We're going to do something to try to disrupt the defense. One thing that I thought was incredible in the second half that I just hated, and maybe I'm just overanalyzing again. I didn't go back and watch the tape of this one for multiple reasons. Been trying to avoid being angry, but look at me, not doing my job.
Bad job out of you.
Yeah, bad job. But tell me I'm wrong. You two can tell me I'm wrong. Were the formations especially tight in the second half? Did it feel like there was nobody spreading the team out? Am I wrong? No space.
No, there wasn't. Yeah, correct.
And scheme creates space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what you're supposed to. Yeah.
By the way,
especially this scheme, the air raid is supposed to create and exploit like physical blank space on the canvas.
Right.
Like that is, you're supposed to attack throw to space, not necessarily throw to routes, right?
Yeah.
And we just didn't see that.
We're about an hour and 10 in, and I just wanted to thank our sponsors. We're good about that. I have a shirt that you guys can
see that.
see.
Can you nice. Is your shirt printed in reverse?
Does it look reversed?
It's back. It's
got the mirror thing on.
Well, whatever.
That's a cool one, though.
Fear the Fork.
I love it.
My niece goes to Arizona State, so I was going to get something from home field. And you know what I thought about? I'm glad I didn't make this deal on the podcast, but I was thinking about saying I will get from home field a shirt of every team that beats Purdue, but I don't think I want to do that now because I will run out of
$1 billion.
Yeah. So
I was also going to say every non-conference team that beats Purdue, but then you would have to buy a Notre Dame shirt in that sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point.
It's a really good point.
I would happily take an Oregon State shirt.
Oh
but,
yeah. Let's use this as the excuse just to buy 3 Oregon State shirts.
So enter Boiled 20. Get this right, Boiler Dad? Boiled 25 at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your first order. And then when you get tired of, I like the new tagline. When you're tired of seeing Purdue lose and you leave the stadium early, head towards the fire station, also known as a firehouse. Fire station is like where the train stops and there's a fire. That's the fire station.
I don't think I've ever said firehouse consistently. Is this an? I know there's firehouse subs. Is this a Northeast thing?
Maybe we call it
fire station.
No, we say firehouses.
Anish, what did you say growing up?
I usually call the house that's on fire the firehouse. That's
no.
The you know.
It's not.
Also in Pittsburgh, houses just randomly explode because of who knows. But like that happened a couple times. That's
we didn't finish my read though. You turn whether you call it a fire station or a firehouse. When you're near it, you'll smell. Even if you don't see it, you will smell the wafting odors, delicious smells of AJ's Burgers, beef, beer. They will take care of you. It's never.
I had a blue cheese
burger,
man. Oh,
describe it slowly.
So it was delightful.
The great thing there too, I don't know if you guys think back to college, but man, you went to college places and sometimes the service was terrible. Maybe because college students were doing it. Those guys run a tight ship. Those guys run a tight ship, man. You can be in there.
They were impressive on Saturday. It was a crowd, and they got the food.
They hustle. They hustle. That's what you want out of your Boilermakers. You want people who hustle.
I told you they hustle so much. The GM and the 2 owners were all working, and they said that's a very intentional thing on Saturdays.
I was just going to say that's also impressive. How you get good employees when they see the boss doing stuff.
Yeah,
they're not going to slack off because they see the boss busting his ass.
And look at the bottom of your pint glass, and you may see a little BS logo there.
You may see a BS logo at the bottom of your glass. So what I'm saying is make sure you order a pint of something.
Please.
Don't. So I went in there, guys, and I was not in the mood to drink. I told you guys know my philosophy. And so I said, give me a root beer.
I got much drinking this fall.
No. Give me a root beer, but put it in a pint glass, and because I want the, They said,
can they do that?
They've done it before for me. Like I know that and they said, oh, we're short on pint glass right now. We really got to make sure we're using them for beer. I said, okay.
They have the technology to put non-beer in pint glass.
They can. She just didn't want to do it because the Adams explained the filling is very efficient if you do it from the bottom. There's no loss of beer. So,
by the way, Mark Garrity says he's in Indiana and his father-in-law was a firefighter. They called it a fire station.
Oh. It's a regional thing.
Maybe it is.
Thank you, Mark, for making Jay look stupid.
Well, come on.
Well,
the Noodle says, is the fire station where the bar Pete's used to be, or is that the library? No, I don't know.
No. Pete's. No, the fire station's where the fire station used to be.
I think it's.
I think it was a fire station. It's one of the only things on campus that hasn't changed.
Right. It'll be a sub place in 5 years, but that's okay.
Exactly.
Jason D says if he bets if Barry Odom knows about AJ's, he'll quit immediately.
That's a fair point.
And then move out of Las
Vegas. Barry
Odom. How many of Barry Odom's burner accounts are on here today?
By the way, let me just say I love AJ's, and I agree that's a good tempting thing. I'm pretty sure in Vegas Barry Odom can eat okay.
The food is okay in Vegas.
There's options.
Holy moly, food's good.
And none of it's good for you. So if what you're alluding to is the kind of food that a guy like Barry Odom might want, I think he's okay there. Yeah. We got to stop with the Barry Odom.
That is not BS sanctioned for the record.
Yeah, no.
It's not my dude. mean, you guys can speak for yourself. I'm going to put words in your
mouth.
So
what else do we have to talk about this week? Because, man, unless they make
I got something to talk about. I got something good to talk about. And I sent it to you guys right before, and you guys saw it. But this is something, I'm such a dork. I love this. Purdue got the silver tab on the back of the jerseys for basketball.
Yeah,
dude, I'm so excited about that. Can you
clarify what that means? What it means?
So what happens when Nike, when you're a Nike school and you get the silver tab on the back of your collar? That means silver tab is you've made the Final Four.
I'm sorry.
And if you get a gold tab, you made a Final Four.
Oh.
And guess what? First time in 44 years, your Boilermakers went to the Final Four.
That must have been a relief after that many years. It must have been pretty.
It was.
Great.
Well, for some people, it's a weird thing because some people are still like, well, let's go. They're all. I mean, I said 26. They go back, but boy, we can't even enjoy it this off season. Off season's not even over yet, and I'm getting like a hard time for this. Give me a break, man.
What kind of hard time did you get?
Like I've had a couple people say, let's go. It's going to get the gold. I mean, I said get the gold in 26, but I'm not wishing this. This is a nice time, guys.
I saw we went to Jay and I went to that Purdue apparel store in the Wabash Landing,
Levy,
yes, or the Levy. I'm sorry, and the Final Four stuff was on the clearance rack, and I was like, "Are we already done with this? What's going on?
Get this out of here!"
I definitely bought a shirt. Yep, I bought.
We
another
reload.
One. Yeah, I bought another one because it was on clearance, and I had.
Are you serious? There's stuff on campus. There's Final Four stuff on
Final Four koozies on 40% off clearance. Just buy the whole thing. Just buy all of them.
All.
I have 4 now.
Yeah,
they're not
because of Final Four. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 of them.
Yes, it's like poetry. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. No,
that's all you do. After these Saturdays, what you should do is just pull up Zach Edey highlights. And just like open a can of your favorite beverage and just mutter "hell yeah" to yourself while watching Zach Edey just dunk. That's it. Just be good, man.
So before I got on today, I watched a Grizzlies Edey interview from just like a day ago. Have you seen? He's lost weight.
He's apparently 210, or I mean 210, 290.
He's 290. So that's between 10 and 20 pounds down, right? And so the funny thing is, like he's got some teammates that are excited.
Chopped his legs off. He's 210 now.
Well, it's notable. That's the thing. 10 pounds made that much of a difference. It's crazy to me because I think if I lost 10 pounds, you'd say still fat.
Throwing a deck chair off the Titanic.
What's fun? Oh no, go ahead, Jay.
He lost more than 10, didn't he? He was more than 300.
He was. I think he was more than
310.
But like, yeah.
Yeah. So if maybe. Well, I think
they wouldn't say he was 310. Purdue always said he was 300.
We all talked about this. He was a student of what he needed to do to get better. He always was working. And he went to the NBA, and he didn't do the thing a lot of bullheaded athletes do where they're like, I'm going to do my thing. Of course, I'm going to be good enough because I've always been the best. He listened and was like, you're right. I will not be able to guard guys on the perimeter if I'm 310 pounds. I will not be able to move quickly enough. So let me lose some weight and get a little more nimble and a little more lean. And
he got a good haircut too. He's got a good barber down in Memphis. Like his hair looks sharp.
Oh, shout out Julie.
Remember when he had the bad fake mullet for a while?
Or it was wasn't a mullet or kind of like a bowl cut? Yeah,
it was not good.
Well, now
but he's found a good. He's found a good
now. I was going to say, shout out Julie.
Can he afford that, Jay? Can he afford a stylist?
Shout out Julie Edey at the football games.
Good. Yeah, that was cool. That was very cool.
The other thing is, I do want to note for everybody, and it's a talking point that we should take to the internet, because hey, it turns out that the people that watched him the most were like, yeah, he's not going to have a problem adjusting to any of this. It turns out that the people that only watched him maybe once a year were the people complaining about his style of play, what he couldn't do. And meanwhile, like, let's say the Illinois fans that only watched maybe one or two had certain things to say, and the Illinois players, Coleman Hawkins talked his trash, but he never said Zach Edey was bad.
And after the season, he was complimentary.
No player who played against him felt that way.
No player that played with or against Edey. No coach that played with or against Edey. No actual basketball mind that watches the game.
Any real analysts.
Correct. He ended up being drafted in the top 10, and now Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant are like, this dude is winning Rookie of the Year. Oh, is that good enough for you? I'm sorry. And now Memphis fans who were drafted, like who were not thrilled when Zach Edey was drafted 9th overall to them, they saw a couple of clips and they're like, wow, we're in. Hey, all of a sudden, it seems like everybody that comes in contact with Zach Edey is like, this guy is special. Maybe you should start listening to us.
Where a lot of Knoxville, Tennessee fans are. So maybe there was some poison in the water. By the way, I laughed aloud. You guys just saw because I looked at Noodle's comment. He said,
that's a great comment.
He says, if I lose 10 pounds, I might have 2 pairs of pants that fit instead of one.
That's a great comment. I guess the Noodle hasn't gone with stretchies like I
joggers. I was going to say, you can get any kind of pants
in
joggers and stretchy pants now. They're all. It's like, why did it take us all of human history to realize we could just make the whole plane out of the black box? We can make the pants out of stretchy. You dress pants. Nobody's going to stop us. There are no rules.
There are no rules. Yeah.
Man.
The Noodle suggests a road trip to Memphis. Yeah, I mean, we've already purchased a timeshare there.
I was gonna say, I'm ready to move to Memphis. Are you kidding me? Blues music,
food,
alcohol, food.
Man, barbecue and Zach Edey, like
warmer than where we are.
These are two of my 6 favorite things on earth. I mean, like, come on.
And the other 2 of the other ones are right here on this chat.
Exactly.
It's all here. There was also, I think Noodle, did he have the, Noodle had Motor City Boiler, pardon me, had a very good comment too. We actually made the final 2.
Oh, I did want to address that. He said, actually, we made the final 2. I was going to say, he's right up your alley, you two. And I don't understand why there aren't final 2 shirts.
Yeah. I like the final 2. I actually.
Terrific 2?
Number tooth.
That's one of my favorite. Is this a new thing that people don't know what letters to add after numbers? Is this? I see it on the interwebs all the time now.
The final 2-end. Is that how you use it? Oh, sorry.
There are people that struggle clearly, and I don't understand this struggle.
Well, I understand a lot of struggle. Are you looking on the internet for smart people? Because
always that bad idea. Is I going to find them? Yeah. Okay, there. Ron Gable says Memphis comes to Indy October 18th for preseason.
You might get Boiler Dad to an NBA game. It's possible.
Yeah.
You might get it. You might see it, folks.
I went to one. I went to one a couple of years ago to see a Purdue player, and I'm trying to think which one it was.
Probably Carson.
Yeah, probably. The NBA is so frustratingly forgettable for me. In person, it's even worse. I wish I liked it. I wish I could get into. Like, I love seeing Purdue players. I love seeing them do great. I just cannot stand the league.
Well, you got 15 years because Zach. That's how long Zach's going to be.
Yeah. Good. I'm sure the league is going to become more palatable for me.
It'll be fun. You got 15 years, and Zach will be in the league for 15 years, and you'll
Motor City Boiler final deuced.
Still deuced.
2 ST.
It's so stupid.
Yeah,
it's so stupid and yet funny.
Yeah, Andy Diggs says toured. I don't even know how to say that one. It's harder.
Turd is what he's saying. TRD. This is probably really great when they're audio only. Anything else that we have? We haven't talked about this. We skipped right over Predictos.
I think Purdue wins because that would be the most hilarious.
That would be the funniest
more
outcome.
Hilarious.
And it would make a lot of people mad because they'd be like, this just means they're going to be here longer. I got news for you guys. They're not going to fire him during the season. I definitely don't think.
And if any of you thought that was a possibility, you think you can't replace an OC and now you're going to replace a head coach? Oh my gosh.
Barry Odom.
If only Barry Odom were here. Gosh, wherever he is. Gracious. By the way, that's probably the biggest shocker. I think that's the funny thing. We all talked about accountability someplace, right? We all talked about it, and we all said this could be hard to replace. And we saw this, and then it happened, and you're like, okay, it's good and it's bad.
So now so before the bye week, let's see if one of these guys, if Justin Fuente, if Dan Mullen, if Dana Holgerson, I'm just gonna read out my list: Dino Babers, Justin Fuente in the offseason, Joe Moorhead the offseason. Like, we're all good. Bob Stitt not doing anything.
Yeah, somebody told me that I did my spacing wrong. They called him, his name's Bob's Tit.
It's like the Connery.
I responded with what's Connery. His name on Celebrity Jeopardy, of course. Yeah. Connery.
I'll take a penis, mighty. Let tits now.
Let tits now. Goodness gracious. That bit is one of the best bits ever.
It's so stupid.
It is so stupid. It's good. I can watch that. Like there's a super cut of that on YouTube. It's
so. Totally, are you are you sharpieing this game? I think you sharpied this game before the season. I think you and I.
Yeah, it was more than a Sharpie.
Stone.
Yeah, it's a chisel and stone. You have to. I mean, I don't know how I can not predict Wisconsin to win every year until it. For me, it's like an impossible thing. It's like me growing hair on the top of my head. Sure, it could happen. I mean, with the help of modern medicine, maybe Handel Jones can help me with a hair plug system or something. But
you could grow out the cul-de-sac, couldn't you?
Oh yeah. Oh, I can grow that out. And that's nothing to be proud of. Ask my wife. She's seen it and she hates it. Every couple of years, I'll be like in the summer, I'll be like, I'm going to grow out my hair and I'll keep trying to cut it on top. And I'll cut like on this, I'll cut on the sides like 15 times waiting for these 5 or 6 to do something.
You should grow out the cul-de-sac for Halloween. Like you should be a character or something that has a cul-de-sac for Halloween. Shave it into a mustache and a cul-de-sac.
It's so bad. It's the worst look. I've kicked it around though. I'm like, because I've had a relatively bald, shaved head for a long time now. My hairstyle has not changed. You get to do a beret, Anish. I mean,
that's it. Yeah,
lucky dog.
That's it.
Pompadour.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the Conan O'Brien. Like that's what. That's
ain't no bum cover for 500. Sorry, Anish, I know you're not as amused as Jay and I are.
This is one of my favorite. There are very few SNL things that live with me that because I don't really care about the show. This is amazing. I don't either. Like I watched this. One. This is an incredible one.
Yes, it's very good. Yeah, it's very, very good. I got one more thing I can talk about real quickly because I didn't address this on any of my. I've had a lot of quick casts, but to me, when I walked in the stadium, one of my biggest letdowns happened right away. And that was Purdue looked like a Fred Akers coach team. By the uniforms alone. From if you squinted, you're like, oh no, oh dark era here. Oh gosh, no. And so like that to me is
the glossy black helmet with the stripe down the middle.
I like the jerseys, but I understand.
Well, so the white, so like to me, the white, I like I've been proponent of the jerseys. They've been good, but it's a combination of white numbers.
Wait, were those jerseys different?
What do you say?
Were those jerseys different too?
They're the jerseys they've had this year, but it's the combination of because Purdue's done black helmets, right? But when they've done black helmets, generally it's been gold numbers. And so it's kind of like, for me, it's been a move on. And the P's
are black, and they got the train tracks. They do things that are a little different that aren't. This one looks a lot like, I have this one in my basement. This one, it looks a lot like the '89 helmet. It really does.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell you the reason they do stuff like that. My 14-year-old saw it and immediately liked it.
Yeah,
because
they don't have the bad memories. They don't have the bad juju.
That's a long time ago. Yeah. These guys don't think that way. Now, you're right, though. Purdue fans, you've said this before. Purdue fans have long memories. Yeah. And there's a lot of long-time Purdue fans. And there's a lot of family Purdue fans where even if you're not old enough.
My whole block said it. We were like, oh, no.
So, yep. And then they went out and played like that.
Then
it's okay. They'll win. They're going to win out. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Akers, well, see, Purdue played better. Akers teams are really undisciplined, got a lot of penalties, so that at least we didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh, wait a second. What?
I do think that Green, number 2, the cornerback. I mean, like he
get better.
Oh, I think you could.
He was right. He was in their pocket every time.
Exactly. He was in. You had a great point on your quick cast where it was like he was in the right position every time, and he just didn't turn around. It's like that's a technique.
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's totally technique. It can be like the athleticism, the length. It's all there.
And positioning and understanding the route and everything like that. You can tell he's a smart guy. It's just like it knocked the rust off, and like I think he's going to be a really good player.
The best way to knock a rust off is just have yellow flags thrown at the rust.
It's fun.
Over and over. Bing, bing, get the rust off. Bing, 3 times. Bing. I think it was 3 times PI from him.
They'll probably wear all white up at Wisconsin this weekend, right?
We've already seen that.
That's your favorite.
We haven't seen white helmet yet, so
that's your favorite look is all white, like Michigan in the rain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice see-through pants. It's good. One thing's better is an all urine gold uniform in the rain. That's also very good. Gosh, that's a bad look, guys. And we saw that at Michigan years ago. I can't get it out of my mind. Gold helmet, piss gold jersey, piss gold pants. This is not a good look. It's not ever.
Did they do the gold head to toe?
They did it at Michigan
walk
They did
into the big house.
They did white head to toe at Michigan too. I remember that.
They did. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm sure Teddy would tell me I'm wrong, but I know they've done the all gold with that nasty gold. I know they've done it
when they had the gold jerseys.
Yeah, with Orton. Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, those were not good.
Not
good.
Well,
all right.
Thanks for tuning into Fashion Hour. Pardon me.
Yeah, I think we've done enough damage here. We're at 90 minutes.
I didn't have it. It's good hanging out with you guys always, and thanks for calming me down, guys. That was good.
Sure.
I'm never gonna be angry again.
Nope. Not for another 5 or 6 days.
Nope. I love you guys.